I think it's time for a little mid-year reset. I have a whole list of things that I would like to get done. One of which I did yesterday when that was cleaning my living space. I like rage cleaned my living space. It's very neat and tidy right now and I'm so happy. I feel like I cannot be productive or mentally sane if my space is chaotic. So now that my space is taken care of, there are a couple of things, like bookish things, that I want to do to reset the year. I do want to, as you can see on the list, I want to do my reading journal. I want to go through and see how I'm doing on going through my physical TBR, because it was my goal to get a certain number of those read off of my TBR this year. I want to get honest with myself about my TBR and maybe unhaul some books that I just know I'm not going to read. And then I'm not looking at the list right in front of me. It's on the screen, so you can see what else I want to do. I'm trying to think. Oh, I want to clear out my Kindle library because it's very overwhelming. And there's another thing on the list that now I can't remember, but it's on the screen, so you know. And so we're going to do it. I think I want to start with my reading journal. Like, I just want to start updating it. I don't think I've updated it since like April or May, and we're July 7th today. So, love that. Let me grab it. Also, look at how cute this is. I did the adult reading program at my library, and this was like one of the prizes for doing it. It's not the best quality, but I don't know, it's fun. So this is my reading journal. I have been very simple with it this year. Like last year, I went all out and was doing spreads and all kinds of things, and I got very overwhelmed. So this year, I just have little book reviews. And I'm actually out of these little papers, but I've actually decided that I don't need, this is my last one, and I've decided that I just don't need to do like an actual paper form. I can just like put the title and my rating and a summary of it. Like I can write it out. I don't need to be printing off this stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. Like that's literally all my reading journal is. For the beginning of this year, for 26, I have my Sarah J. Maas universe reading thing. I do have to update that because I have read more. These are my 6 books I want to read in 2026. My DNFs and my A to Z, and I do have some to fill in on both. I've DNF'd several books this summer. I just can't be bothered to read books that I'm not loving, you know? Oh, and then my 100 book challenge was my goal to read 100 books this year, which I think I'm well on my way to doing. But that's literally it. Like, I decided to keep my reading journal so simple this year, but I still have to update it because I have not updated it in a few months. So I'm gonna go get my markers and stuff and we'll do that. Okay, so I finished updating my reading journal. I just wrote on the pages everything that I would have wrote on those little sheets to print out. The only exciting thing I did was this one for Christine. This was a blind date with a book I got last Christmas, and I finally got around to reading it in May. It was the first book I read in May. So I just put the wrapping paper and then the description of it that made me want to buy it, and then my review on there. And then let's see, the only things that I added to my A to Z challenge was Lawmaker. L was the only one to add, but then in my DNF graveyard I did DNF in the past couple of months: Ceremony, Firefly Lane, and Fully Average. And then in my 6 books to read in 2026, I did read Anxious People. I have a love-hate relationship with that book. And then I read Throne of Glass for the next Sarah J. Maas universe. And then I have read 56 books so far. My goal was 100, and because we're halfway through the year, that means I'm over halfway done. So I think we're right on track to where we need to be. Okay, this was a lot of fun. Let me clean up my mess, and then we're going to go over and we're going to see how we're doing on my TBR. We're going to see how many books off of my physical TBR I have read this year. Okay, this stack of books is everything that I've read off of my physical TBR this year, and my goal was to read 40 books, not including the Sarah J. Maas books. So let's go ahead and count those to see where we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Hey, that worked out really well. We're in July. We're in the first week of July. Goal was 40, we're at 20. I think we're doing a great job. So let's check that off as well. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, my dog is wanting to go sit outside and relax, so I'm gonna take my Alani outside and I'm just gonna scroll through my Goodreads and my Fable TBR and just clean them out. I feel like there's a lot of books on there that I just added to add them, and I just don't think I'm ever gonna read them. And every time I go in there, it's so overwhelming to look at books. I'm just like, I know I'm not gonna read that. Why is this on my list? When I'm going in there to try to choose maybe what book I want to read next, or what's on my list, or what was supposedly a high expectation book, and I just scroll and scroll and scroll. I'm like, I know I don't want to read any of these. Like, I just don't think they're up my alley anymore. And then also something with Fable that I've noticed, like on Goodreads, if it's on your want to read list and then you read it, it like moves it from the want to read list to the read list. You know, on Fable, it just stays there. Like, you have to add a separate list for reading it. And then it stays on my want to read list, even though I've already read it. And that's overwhelming too. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong when I'm logging my books on Fable. But I can't figure out how to not get it to do that, because it just stays there. Like, I've read Throne of Glass, I've read Akatar, I've read a bunch of books, and it still is on my want to read list. So I just want to go through and eliminate books that I'm just not going to read. And then same thing with my Kindle library. I have so many books sitting on there that I downloaded from like Stuff Your Kindle Day that in my brain I was like, oh yeah, that sounds really good, I'm going to read that. I have zero interest in reading the majority of them. And then a lot of them are like dark romances or things like that that are just not up my alley anymore. Like, I have zero interest in reading dark romance or even rom-coms lately. I just want something with a bit more substance. I'm finding a lot of those books to be, yeah, they're fun and they're guilty pleasures, but they're not anything that I really want to spend the majority of my time on. So I'm gonna grab my Alani, we're gonna go outside and just sit and enjoy the fresh air before it gets to be 100 degrees. And I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna delete stuff because I can't be bothered to be overwhelmed. I can't do it. So let's go do that. Okay, our AC is working again. It's very cold in here now. The lighting is going to continue to be atrocious, however, because I'm keeping all the blinds closed so the AC doesn't have to work as hard. And maybe it'll stay working for longer. Anyway, I did go through my Fable and my Goodreads, and I eliminated about 50 books between the two. There were a few overlaps, so maybe like 40 books I eliminated off of my TBR on there. And then I also took off probably about 15 books from my Kindle library that I don't think I'm gonna get to. There's a handful of them that I did keep, and I was like, okay, if I don't get to them by the end of the year, because they're still kind of like, they're like thrillers or gothic stories that I actually am interested in, but I told myself if I don't get to them by the end of this year, I will delete them, because they're all on Kindle Unlimited anyway. So if I feel the need to actually read it, I can just go download it and read it on Kindle Unlimited instead of, because these were books that I downloaded from Stuff Your Kindle Day like 4 years ago, and they're just sitting there. So like I said, I got rid of probably about 10 or 15 books that I just know that I'm never gonna read. And then there's a handful of them that I'm just gonna leave them until the end of this year. And if I don't get to them by the end of this year, they're gonna go too. Because I'm so overwhelmed when I scroll to look for my next read. There's too many options. Too many options. Which is a really big reason why I was prioritizing my TBR this year. Because I want to look at my shelf and not feel overwhelmed. I want to look at my shelf and be like, wow, I have read and loved every single one of these books. And that's what I want. So the last thing I also, you know when you scroll on TikTok and on Instagram, on Facebook, you get the ads for books, and I screenshot them because I'm like, oh yeah, that looks interesting, let me screenshot that. I had hundreds of screenshots. Some of them were duplicates because I just kept screenshotting. So I went through my camera roll and I actually deleted like probably 500 screenshots. I'm not joking. Of books that I thought that I wanted to read but clearly didn't, because it's not like those ads are ever going to stop either. Because I had like 5 or 10 images, screenshots of the same book, the ads are going to keep popping up anyway. It's not going to be forgotten, and I'm just going to do better about not screenshotting something that I really probably am not going to read in the very near future. So that being said, the last thing we have to do is get honest about my TBR. So let me step back, I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is like my book section. This is my shelf. This is my father-in-law's shelf. That's everything I've read off of my TBR. My priority TBR is up here. I've already read this stack and those, obviously. And I have a low priority TBR down here. And quite honestly, I think I'm really over Ted Dekker. Like, he was a very prominent author in my young adulthood. And I really just think I'm over it. And there's a couple here that I could probably just, like, Immortal. That's second in a series. I don't own the first one. And since I'm kind of over it, I might as well unhaul that. Same with Obsessed. Maybe this trilogy. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm gonna have to get honest with myself. But this has been, like, priority TBR. And I know that everything down here I'm keeping, obviously. This section in here I'm probably keeping. It's this section that I don't know. And then these are ones that I've recently acquired that I really have to be honest with myself with, so. Okay, we're gonna start off with, I got both of these Chris and Hannah books from a garage sale. I do think I'm gonna hold on to The Four Winds. I'm gonna give it an honest shot. I hated Firefly Lane, but a lot of people were saying that if you read like her newer stuff, like her older stuff's not that great, but if you can read her newer stuff, it's good. And this is newer than Firefly Lane. It's still one of her older things, I'm pretty sure. But I'm willing to give this one a try. This is old Kristen Hannah. This was published in the 90s. Like back when paperbacks, look at this. Oops. This paperback was $6.99. Look at that. Paperbacks nowadays are like $15. So I do think I'm going to keep this one, give her an honest try. This one's going to get unhauled. I'm never going to read older Kristen Hannah ever because I did not like an older book of hers. So we're going to unhaul that one. Okay. I have a dilemma. I have this book, British Murder. It's 2 books in one. And you know what? I got this from the library book sale. It was an accident. I like picked it up because I had a dog on the cover. And I was like looking at it and reading the back. And then I looked over and I saw another book that I was actually interested in. And this book just got put in my stack. And it wasn't until I was checking out that I realized it was still there. And then I was like, you know what? It's $1. Who cares? I'll just buy it and support the library. But I don't know if I'm ever going to read this. Like it's Amateur Sleuth because they're on vacation in England. I don't know. I want to read it because of the dog, but I'm also like, I just feel like I'm not going to like it. So I think I might unhaul this. Maybe it'll go into a little free library. Okay. The Call of the Wild. This is getting unhauled. I don't know why I own this. I know what's in here, and I know that's going to make me sob. I'm not reading it. This is going to go into a little free library. I don't know why I own that. This is a book of poetry that I had to read in a cultural literature class. I hated that whole class. I hated every single book that I read in there, and I don't think I'm ever going to pick up a book of poetry. So I'm going to unhaul this. I'm having mixed feelings about this Alfred Hitchcock and the 3 investigators in The Mystery of Monster Mountain. I want to get into Alfred Hitchcock. I really, really do. This is just one of those kinds of copies that I don't know if I want to keep. Oh, it was a library one. Look at it. It has the library stamp thing. Maybe I do want to keep it. Maybe when I finally get around to it, I'll read it. And then maybe if I want to start collecting Alfred Hitchcock, I'll collect them in like a different binding. You know what I mean? It reminds me so much of like those Hardy Boys books that I grew up reading. Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. I don't know. It's funny. Okay, Bless Me Ultima. This is another book from that cultural literature class from this. I tried rereading another book from that class earlier this year. I just don't think I'm going to read this, and I don't think I'm going to like it, so I'm going to unhaul this. I also have Tom Sawyer. I have read this before, and I did not like it. And I don't think I'm ever going to reread it, or if for any reason I wanted to collect them, I wanted to collect them in, like these signet classics, you know, so all of my classics match. That being said, I did read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn last year. I hated it. So I think I'm going to unhaul both of these. This one's off my TBR. This one is not. Like, I think these are both just going to go away. I don't care. Okay, let's see. The Invisible Man is another one from that cultural literature class. And this is not the H.G. Wells one. This is a different one. The Invisible Man is one of the most audacious and dazzling novels of our century, where black men are reduced to fighting animals. See, you know what? I think that this is an important thing to have in literature rooms. I don't think it's something that I will ever read for pleasure. I've read it once. And I actually might go through and add some of these to my read list on Goodreads and Fable because I have read them. I have zero desire to read them again. So I think I'm going to unhaul that. Mark Twain, The Prince and the Pauper. Do I just not like Mark Twain? Because that was what Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is. Like, maybe I just don't like Mark Twain. Is that sacrilege to say? Oh my gosh, this book was $2. When did I get this? Back when books were cheap, I guess. I'm tempted to unhaul this one too. But I actually don't. I understand the story. And I understand the story because I watched Wishbone growing up. That's where I know this story from. I'm just scared that I'm going to hate the book. But again, like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if I were to collect classics, I want them all to match my other ones, you know? Let me think about this. Let me think. I feel like this is also kind of in that same thing with Alfred Hitchcock, you know? I might keep it and read it, but then unhaul it, and we'll see. I'm having a crisis. Am I ever going to read this? I don't know. I'm also having a little bit of a crisis with How to Hug a Porcupine. I was coerced into reading this a few years ago because there was somebody that I was working with that was very difficult. And my mom was like, oh, get the book How to Hug a Porcupine. It'll help you understand how to work with and appreciate people who are prickly and who don't mesh with your personality. I don't remember it helping at all. And really now I just have this memory of being coerced into reading something that didn't work. I think I'm going to unhaul this. I really think this could be helpful for somebody else. But I just don't think I'm ever going to read it. Okay, let me rearrange quickly. Okay, while I was rearranging them, I also realized that I had Red Notice up on the end. I got this from a library book sale 2.5 years ago. It's a true crime book, a real life thriller about an American-born financer in the wild east of Russia. It's going to be about finance and something about a crime that happened in that world. My brain is not equipped to handle that, and I'm going to unhaul this. It's been on my shelf for 2 years, and I just now realized it's about math, and that's not going to fly with me, so we're going to unhaul this. And then I do think I'm just going to unhaul this. I think that I'm just learning that I don't like Mark Twain. Sue me. I don't care. I think that somebody somewhere is going to really love this. I'll put this in a little free library. So this is going to get unhauled. And I am going to unhaul this Ted Dekker book. It's the second in a series. I think that I really loved Ted Dekker. I was a very sheltered child, and I was not allowed to read a whole lot of anything. And Ted Dekker was the first author that I was really allowed to read that was like a psychological thriller. And I was so happy. I was engrossed in all of his books. And I think that's where my love of thrillers and mysteries came from, was being allowed to read these. But as an adult, a common theme of them I'm noticing, which is what makes them popular in Christian groups, is people doing heinous things in the name of Christianity and just being like, well, I can just be forgiven for that and it's fine. Now, the ending of the stories ends up fine. Like, they do end up truly repentant and realize that they can't be acting like that, I guess. But it's everything that I really hate about Christianity right now. It's everything that, I don't know, I guess I'm just not interested in reading about things of people doing awful things and just being like, well, I'm a Christian, so it's fine, I'll be forgiven. It really bothers me. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some soul searching about the rest of my collection of his, because I do want to read a few more this year and see if my opinion changes. But since I'm on the fence and this is the second in a series and I don't own the first one, I'm just gonna unhaul it and I'll test my theories with the rest of these books. So these are all the books that I'm unhauling. I have 11 of them. I did just decide as I was putting this stack together, I'm going to hold on to this one till the end of the year because I picked it up for the dog. I'm going to see if it calls to me. If at the end of the year I don't read this, I'll reevaluate, but I'm going to keep this one for now. So we have 11 books that I'm for sure going to unhaul. I'll probably go put these in a little free library, so let me know if you want a video on that. Even if you don't want a video on that, I'm probably going to make a video on that. So keep your eyes posted. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. Maybe hit the bell so that you're notified when I post that little free library video, because I'll be putting all of these in there. Thank you guys so much for watching. You reset my little space. Mentally, I feel so much better. Like, I can look at my TBR now and not feel so overwhelmed. Like, it all fits nicely on the 2 rows, which is what I was needing. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, which will probably be a little free library video. Have a great day.